My lawyer said, "You lost everything in the settlement." I nodded and said, "Good." Gerald stared at me like I'd suffered a head injury. His pen hovered over the final paperwork, hand frozen mid-signature. Across the conference table, my soon-to-be ex-wife Vanessa sat with her attorney, both of them wearing matching expressions of smug victory. The house, the cars, the investment accounts, the vacation property in Colorado, all of it now belonged to her. 12 years of marriage, and I was walking away with nothing except the clothes in my apartment and a checking account with $3,200. Vanessa leaned back in her chair, diamonds glittering on her fingers. "I told you he'd fold." Her lawyer shuffled papers, barely hiding his grin, but I just kept smiling because they had no idea what they'd just inherited. 6 months earlier, I'd come home early from a business trip and found Vanessa's laptop open on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. The screen was just there, displaying a spreadsheet I'd never seen before. Numbers that didn't make sense. Transfers from Westbrook Financial, where Vanessa worked as CFO, into accounts I'd never heard of. I took photos of everything with my phone. 32 screenshots before the shower turned off. That night, I couldn't sleep. My wife of 12 years had been skimming money from her company. The amounts were staggering. Over $4 million across 18 months, hidden in shell corporations and offshore accounts. Our house, the one we just renovated, bought with stolen money. The Colorado cabin, same thing. I should have confronted her. That's what a normal husband would do. Instead, I called a forensic accountant the next morning, paid him in cash from my personal savings, the emergency fund Vanessa didn't know existed. His report came back in 3 weeks. Worse than I thought. Vanessa hadn't just embezzled. She'd created fake vendor accounts, forged board signatures, and bribed the external auditor to overlook discrepancies. Federal crimes. Multiple federal crimes. I sat in my car reading that report for 2 hours. My marriage was over, but turning in my wife meant destroying myself too. Every asset we owned was purchased with money she'd stolen. The house was in both our names. The cars were joint property. If authorities seized everything, I'd lose it all anyway, and probably face investigation myself. That's when I made the call that changed everything. Special Agent Dawson at the FBI's White-Collar Crime Division listened to my story for 45 minutes. He asked me to come in with the screenshots and the forensic report. I spent 6 hours in a federal building, explaining every document. Dawson was clear about one thing. Once they opened an investigation, any assets connected to the fraud would be subject to seizure. There was no scenario where I kept the house or the cars or the investment accounts. They were all tainted. But Dawson offered me something better. If I cooperated fully, provided ongoing information, and testified when the time came, I would receive immunity from prosecution and protection as a whistleblower. The investigation would take months to build. In the meantime, I needed to act normal. Acting normal lasted exactly 6 weeks before Vanessa filed for divorce. She said I'd become distant, emotionally unavailable. The real reason was sitting in her text messages with a man named Keith from her office, but I didn't care about that anymore. Her affair was irrelevant. Her crimes were everything. Through the divorce proceedings, my lawyer Gerald pushed for equitable distribution. He argued for my fair share. I kept telling him to concede. Give her the house, give her the cars, give her the retirement accounts. Gerald thought I was depressed, thought I'd given up. He didn't know about my weekly calls with Agent Dawson, the ones where I confirmed that Vanessa was still moving money, still covering her tracks. Every asset she won in the divorce was another piece of evidence. The final hearing happened on a Friday morning in late October. Vanessa got everything except my personal checking account, which her lawyer described as insignificant. I signed every document without argument. The judge finalized the decree at 11:15 a.m. Vanessa hugged her attorney in the hallway, took a selfie outside the courthouse, posted it to Instagram with the caption, "New chapter." I watched her drive away in the BMW that would be seized in approximately 6 hours. Agent Dawson had called me the night before. The case was ready. Grand jury had already returned indictments. They were just waiting for the divorce to finalize, so the asset seizure wouldn't interfere with civil proceedings. At 5:30 p.m. that same Friday, 12 FBI agents executed search warrants at Vanessa's office and newly won house. I know because Dawson sent me a text. 3 words. It's happening now. I was sitting in my studio apartment eating takeout when my phone buzzed with the message. Vanessa called me 18 times between 6 p.m. and midnight. I didn't answer. By Saturday morning, her arrest was on the local news. By Monday, it was national. The photos showed her being escorted from her office in handcuffs, wearing the same designer suit she'd worn to our final divorce hearing. Vanessa received 14 years federal time after pleading guilty to wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. The house, the cars, the Colorado cabin, every asset she'd fought so hard to take from me was seized by the government. Her Instagram account is still public. That courthouse selfie is still up. 18,000 people have commented on it since her sentence.